Welcome, beloved hearts, into the loving embrace of the divine. I would like to invite you to bring your awareness to your heart, where we can truly connect as one. I am Katrina Armstrong, and I stand before you today as a testament to the power of the divine. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, all of which has birthed the alchemical movement that is Divinity in Action, that I am ecstatic to share with you here. Allow us to guide you through the wisdom of our esteemed leaders and uncover the secrets of the universe to unlock your true potential, as I had done in my life when I embraced the Christ consciousness and ascended into higher expressions of my soul potential. I'll share with you the teachings and wisdom that have helped me to transcend from my earthly bounds and realize the true expression of my soul. I'll be joined by some of the most compassionate and authentic spiritual leaders worldwide who also experience divinity in action. Allow us to share our insights and experiences. I invite you to join me on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Together we'll break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embrace our true selves. Join me in welcoming Mellissa Seaman. Mellissa is a business strategist, intuitive channel, world-renowned retreat leader, sought-after media speaker, and host of the Channel Your Genius podcast. A Stanford-educated former business lawyer, she is also an adopted earth wisdom ceremonialist of the indigenous Tishdyan tradition, a potent energy healer, and a highly regarded professional intuitive. Mellissa bridges the worlds of business strategy and intuitive development to guide professional women in midlife to clarify their deepest purpose, do business with heart and ease, and step into a new level of leadership as what she calls wise women queens. Mellissa has guided her clients to $6 million windfalls, creating fun business quizzes that go viral, and new careers that integrate their intuitive gifts without losing respect, relationships, or revenue. You may know her as a lawyer shaman who empowers formerly corporate women in midlife to become professional wise women as respected spiritual guides, transformational teachers, and oracles of industry. But what you might not know about her is that she lives with a herd of goats that sometimes end up climbing onto the roof. Mellissa has offered this free gift for you, So Gift Quiz, that you will find just below. What an honor it is to be here today with Mellissa Seaman. What a beautiful, powerful connection and opportunity we have to witness divinity in action through her. Welcome, Mellissa. I am so honored to have you here with us.
Thank you, Katrina. It's a delight to be here in this field.
Yes. As we open up this space, just inviting each one of you to connect into what is flowing through Mellissa today as a powerful intuitive channel and a bridge from the world of business strategy and the world of intuitive development, bringing those together, creating opportunities that oftentimes aren't seen. So I look forward to diving in deeply to understanding more about our intuition and how that fuels our genius and where it is that we find our genius. How do we find our genius even? And these secrets of, being valued and paid for these deep gifts that oftentimes we had no idea what to do with. Mm-hmm. So I am honored, truly honored, and would love to open up to you, Mellissa, here and just sharing how it is that you got here. What is it that brought you to being this bridge?
Well, growing up, I was like a really good girl. I got straight A's and I became valedictorian in my high school, and I went on to Stanford University and then on to law school, and was following a path of, the culture that I grew up in. I was a really devout Catholic and active in my Catholic church I was a liturgist and helped run retreats in inside the Catholic Church community. And then I gave birth to my second child, my daughter, in the year 2000. And I got blown open with that birth. I was like, I was suddenly psychic. I was suddenly deeply intuitive. And let's be clear, like I've always been creative and intuitively minded, but it always flowed within the structures that I had, my Catholic Church community and my very like intellectual way. And I had a rich imaginary life as a child and all of that. But shoot, I thought all that stuff was imaginary. And then I gave birth to Clarice and whoosh, my channel was wide open. And suddenly I'm seeing spirit guides and angels and the blessed dead and the not quite there dead and all the people, all the spirits, all the levels, all the layers, the interdimensional friends and the interdimensional not so friends. And it was a radical change that also somehow felt deeply familiar to me. So inside myself, when this happened, I was like, oh, I knew it, oh, right. You all it felt familiar at that level inside myself, but my brain and my culture structure and my family, it felt like what the actual is going on here? Like, this isn't possible. And I literally felt like, oh no, I'm one of those people. Like I never liked those people, the really spiritual, seemingly ungrounded, seemingly like didn't really belong in community because they're so out there, like I had a lot of judgments about new age people and woo woo people. And then I was suddenly, thrust into that world, so to speak. And it took years for me to kind of build the bridge. I love that you call your business like Divine Bridge for Humanity, because I feel like that's what we are, is bridges. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, we're going to get along fine. Yes. And it's tricky to be a bridge because, I was really stable on one side of the chasm and I had some fingers on the other side, doody-doody-doo. But suddenly I was on the other side of the chasm full on and without any formal training or, I hadn't read the new agey books. So when I met the Council of Sirius and the Blue Planet and all that stuff, I thought that was just my imagination and my way of painting that, And then I started talking to other spiritual people and they're like, oh yeah, Sirius. I'm like, oh, no way. Like my imaginary world is also your imaginary. Like people have written books about the imaginary world. It was just like layer by layer of realization. Like I still remember the day I realized that astrology is real, I'm like, whoa. So you can say like, I really got planted on either side of the bridge and really dove headlong into the spirit side. I moved to Northern California where everybody thought the spirit stuff was normal. I lived at Harbin Hot Springs, which is basically like a hippie nude in the hot springs, little pocket of consciousness and kind of its own little hidden gem. And I lived there for years and experienced a whole different way of living and taught all over the world at that time and was channeling openly through channeling the Divine Mother and doing these events down in San Francisco. And it was a ride. Teaching breath work and healing and shamanic tantra, all this stuff. Wow. And then at a certain point, I actually a couple of things happened. One was that the project, the land-based eco-village that I was helping lead to completion crashed and burned. And I mean, literally burned actually in 2015, burned to the ground. But before that, we lost it in a foreclosure in 2011 after 2008. So this whole economic collapse in 2008 kind of knocked me to the ground and took the land and the project that I'd been pouring myself into without getting paid, just pouring myself into for years, for 7 years. At the same time as my marriage dissolved, my second marriage with a bunch of polyagony and finding out that he had been connecting with women that I had no idea, all this stuff was so dramatic. And it was a huge crash for me personally. And I basically ended up on my hands and knees crawling back to San Diego, which is kind of like crawling back to the other side of the bridge, and living with my parents My Catholic parents, who were never too crazy about this whole idea and this whole path, living with them in the field of I told you so, in the field of like, we've been waiting for this crash and here it is. And it was at that low point where I was like, man, am I even gonna, like, I put everything I had into Avalon Springs. I was below zero. I was like, I woke up to the fact that that wasn't responsible.
Yeah.
That as a mother and a grown woman, like I was following spirit, but to the detriment of my real world. I wasn't being strategic. I wasn't being smart in that regard. I wouldn't change a thing. So don't take that as that. And I know that spirit guides us to exactly the lessons we need to learn. So it's not like, oh, follow spirit and everything will go great. It's like follow spirit and put your seatbelt on. But when I went back, I was like, I need to get back into business now. And I wondered, like, am I going to have to sacrifice my path as a channel? I was like, I can't. That's not even a possibility. That's in me now. It's what I am. So I need to learn to have the best of both worlds. I need to. And then it was like, oh, that's my real purpose. My real purpose is to guide people to have the best of both worlds, to truly bridge these worlds with abundance and power and voice and real effects in the real world, not just in our dream world, not just in our meditation, but right here where the world is on fire and it's changing very fast. And the humans are trying to wake up to the evolution that's already happened in the Earth's grid. We need to be bridges right here, right now. This is no time to wait. Absolutely. And that became so clear to me. And so then I humbled, reapproached business with a genuine curiosity and devotion of like, okay, I can no longer demonize business and what I was before. It's time to integrate the two sides of Mellissa and show others how we can integrate these what seem like polarities, business, money, the old economic structure, everything that we're kind of waiting to die. It's not going to die in our lifetimes. So what are we here for then? To sit around hoping it dies? Like, that's not it. So how do we fully engage with the world, business? I call it business for short, and fully embody our genius as channels. And that's what I'm here for.
Yes. Yes. I love it. You are speaking right into the heart of what is happening right now with this bridging. So many people being called so far out, and there's lots of ideas, lots of beliefs, and really being able to anchor and being able to bridge. And this is something that a lot of people are being asked to do right now, to make this shift, to take that chance, to open up, to really bring yourself back home. And I'm finding, as I traveled and worked with the earth and gone into communities and so many different examples, ways that we could build community that have been playing out, that we've been called into to create this opportunity for it all to return home. I stand strongly in that we're unifying. We're not bifurcating. We're unifying. And it looks like it for our minds because it looks like everything is falling apart and going separate directions. But that's why we're needed. That's why we got called out, right? So that it can be bridged back together, so we can return home together. And you're really speaking into a big message here, Mellissa, that, hey, you're going to return back, right? Spirit's going to call you out. And I know so many people that go so far out and they become unstable. They become, kind of lost in the flow, and they lose their center. They lose their connection, and they find themselves, like you said, where they're like, I'm not being responsible. What am I doing with what I'm given? What am I actually doing with it? So getting clearer with, how do I use this gift to truly be in service? And I know that's something that you work with, is the soul gift. And I would love to hear more about that, to learn more about how it is that you identify this, or I know that you've found a way to share with us these different types of gifts and how we can really value and be paid for those. Because I know our hearts, those of us that are called to bridge this way, we're so loving, we're so giving, and we're so caring, right? So we want to show up. We want to be in service. And that is most certainly a theme that I've seen, is so many people pouring into something. And it's almost as if the universe is saying, hey, no more. no more can you do this. And then they're finding themselves stuck. What do I do from here? And they're forgetting about the human that they developed. They're forgetting about all of those tools and pieces that they have, like you were speaking about the business and the pieces that you've already developed. So there's a reason, right? There's a reason why we came into this life and we learned what we did, the directions that we've gone. And even though oftentimes those of us that are called out, or maybe being called out right now, to let it go, to go and build anew so we can bridge it, so we can integrate it. I would love to hear more about these soul gifts.
So the soul gifts are the 5 types of souls, people who are here with us. And so we each have one of these 5 soul gifts. And this is a gift that we've had through lifetime. So it's not just like a personality thing. It's not just like your astrology chart. It's not your human design. It stands apart. And these 5 soul gifts, when you understand them and you understand which one you are, I see it as sort of the first step in discovering what you're here to do, what your natural, deep, intrinsic gift really is, where you're coming from as a soul, and probably what you've been trained to do that's been covering that up. So I could go through the 5 soul gift types, and you'll probably kind of feel yourself in there. And of course, I have the quiz that will point you to the soul gift quiz, where you take the soul gift quiz and then it shows you in no uncertain terms which of the 5 you are. Because sometimes I explain the 5 types and people who are listening are like, oh, that one sounds like me. And then they take the quiz and they're like, oh crap, I actually am this other one, and I've been trained my whole life to be this one, but actually I'm this one. And that is the beginning of a deeper journey of bridging the worlds, between your soul and this world, this dimension we're given to play in. So the 5 soul gifts, I think I'll start with the one that I suspect that you are, and that is the transmitter. So the transmitter type of soul is the one that came here to literally emanate a healing frequency of evolution. And you've been doing it since you were tiny. Even as a baby, people were like, oh, there's something special, old soul. Like they'll put this stuff on you. And sometimes people will even see at you as like super attractive as a child. It's part of why people get confused with, inappropriate feelings about children. It's like when a child holds this emanation, sometimes it's like of the divine feminine. For example, if you're a woman, you have this emanation that's just no matter what you're doing. You could go work at Starbucks, you're going to be that emanation. You could go be a supermodel, you're going to be that emanation. You could be a stay-at-home mom working full-time with kids, and you're going to be that emanation. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But a transmitter is very sensitive, like a transmission tower. If you can imagine like a very delicate, refined transmission tower to emanate these refined frequencies. So our transmitter souls, they come here and they're deeply empathic. They're deeply sensitive. They need extra care. They need extra sleep. They need extra water. They need extra supplements. They need extra care. If they go off, the whole transmission suffers and can become this agitated, frustrated transmission of almost feeling stuck in a human body.
Wow. Yep.
When they're on, like the people around them spontaneously heal and their lives get better. And they're very magnetic when they're on. And so as you can imagine, living in our current day culture, it's hard as a transmitter because the culture itself is so logical and patriarchal right now. It does not acknowledge transmitter gift. It doesn't acknowledge it. It doesn't even see it. When I describe the other types of souls, you'd be like, that's why they're always trying to get me to be one of those. So, but in the old times, when we had temple-based cultures, we would be on the lookout for those transmitter babies. We'd be on the lookout for them. Transmitter, even though I'm sure there was a different word, right? But we would go, this kid's an emanation. We'd bring that kid into the temple. We'd raise that child or support the family to raise that child with as much resource as possible to keep their transmission pure, because we would recognize that it's those transmission tower people that keep the rest of the tribe healthy, that keep things in balance, that keep all of us evolving. If you're listening to this, you might be thinking, oh crap, that's me. And you'll know, because as a transmitter, you're always more sensitive, and you probably are sometimes embarrassed because you almost feel like a diva. And people may even put that on you, like, oh, you're so high needs. And you're like, yeah, I am. I do need more care. And if you would please give it to me, I would benefit everything around me 24/7. And it's frustrating for transmitters. Don't really even feel like they should have to work for a living because they kind of shouldn't. But this and transmitter soul gift people are like my part of my mission on the planet is to support transmitters, these magical emanation souls, to basically create their own business, like create their own temple of abundance and be paid handsomely so that they can stay in their sweet spot, so that they can save the planet.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. So my Channel Your Genius Academy is like a business school, mystery school for transmitters or people who have transmitter secondary like me. Mm-hmm. So we, of course, we're not just one thing. None of us are just one thing. But when you find that you're primarily transmitter, you'll know because you'll be you're one of these sensitives and a healing emanation.
I could only imagine, Mellissa, when you say this, I think of like the children, and the things that occur in our lives as children that could suppress that or, cause us to like try to go other directions. As you're saying, oftentimes we're put into one of these other categories because I do resonate with transmitter.
No, I suspect you're a double transmitter. That's how your energy feels like to me. Yeah.
So it's so interesting to think about this, bridging worlds, and especially as you're speaking about the transmitter. And I know myself several transmitters that are doing so many other things.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, well, I have to take care of this and I've got to do that. And It's like, well, what is it? For me, it's always looking at the inner child. What's going on that level? Because my work is more bridging the soul in. So looking at, well, what is happening here that's not allowing you to be your authentic self? So I'm excited to hear about the other ones, but especially the transmitter as shared, I really love.
Yeah. And probably, people who are drawn to this summit are very likely there's probably a larger percentage of transmitters here for that very reason, and people who have a transmitter secondary gift. So I'll speak to that a little bit too as I go through.
Okay. Wonderful.
Because based on what your primary gift and your secondary gift are, I have a system of 25 different roles that you play in the world based on what your primary and secondary are, right? So like yours, if you're a double transmitter, then you're a healer type.
Okay.
And whatever you do, you're actually doing healing.
It may be disguised as this or as that, but it's really...
Right. But really, it's healing. And so I'll go next to my type, which is a messenger. And the messenger souls are those who, even as little kids, were like based on explaining and talking and writing and finding the right words. And those are the kids that are hopping up on the coffee table and making announcements and wanting to give speeches and, and so we're natural teachers and translators of wisdom. Now, as a messenger soul gift type, what I bring the world is translated wisdom that can be put into use, right? As a transmitter soul, what you bring into the world is this healing emanation. And so each gift brings literally a different gift to the world, which, as you can imagine, also speaks to how they should best be utilized by humanity. So as a messenger with a transmitter secondary, the right role type is prophet. So in other words, as a transmitter, I'm receiving these energies, transmitting them through my words. Those of us who are transmitters with a messenger secondary are oracles. Mm-hmm. They're receiving the energy and they're using words to move the energy. But it's the energy that's important versus for the messenger, it's the words that's important. So it's subtle differences, but you can start to feel, the differences between teachers and oracles. And then the next gift, soul gift from the soul gift quiz is the creator. So some people think, oh, creative. I'm creative. No, I'm not talking about creative. I'm talking about creator. These are the souls that even as a kid, they know everything. They're the ones who are automatically like, why aren't you all doing what I said? Yep. They're surprised everybody's not just doing what they said because they clearly know. Mm-hmm. And what I've determined is that it's like part of these souls they were there when the earth was created. It's like they were involved somehow with the creator. And so they look at trees and they're like, oh, trees. I remember trees. Oh yeah, we made trees. Oh, look, people. Oh, this sort of person, I get it. And they understand systems really deeply. They understand money really deeply. They're natural critics. So while people might look at the transmitters and go, oh, stop being such a needy diva. And they might look at these are like the critiques, right? They might look at the messenger and go, oh my God, can't you shut up? right? They might look at the creator and say, wow, you are such a critical know-it-all. The problem is the creators tend to know it. They tend to be right about 85% of the time or more about things that they shouldn't even know. So we really should be listening to their critiques, not taking them personally, because they're just playing their role. Like that's the role that they're supposed to play. Okay. And then there's the explorer souls. The explorer souls are the people that we know who show up here on this planet and just try and push all the edges. Just try and push, they're going to try having an alternative sort of relationship, an alternative sort of home. They're going to travel around all the time following, and not just because they're called to by spirit, but because they need to go see this place. It's like an energy of constant expansion and constant testing the limits. Now, what's interesting is as a transmitter, as I'm describing these, you will feel the transmissions go through your body and you'll go, oh yeah, I'm that one. Oh, I'm that one too. Oh, I'm this one. I'm all of these. Whenever anybody comes to me after the quiz and says, this quiz doesn't work because I'm all of these, I say, no, you're just a transmitter. You're channeling them all, but that's not being them all from the root of your soul. So just be mindful of that, all you transmitters. So let's see, we've talked about the explorer, and the explorer, everybody's like, can you just sit down? Like, can you just stop? Why do you always have to be different? Why do you always have to, be pushing the edges and testing the limits? Why are you such a rebel? Okay. And then finally, we have our researcher souls. The researchers are the ones who really arrived on the planet with a clear lens as a witness, and they can stay in center as they look around and see things for what they are. They're constantly curious. They're constantly watching. They can feel, and they really have a deep understanding, like the creator, of how things work, but they have it from watching. They have it from watching and learning. And they're often just here to reflect back to us what's actually happening.
Wow. Yeah.
They don't get all fired up with emotions like the other types do. They stay pretty grounded and clear and stable. And so people look at them sometimes and go, oh, you're so cold. Why are you so detached? They're not. They're watching. They're very connected, but it's in their own way. And they'll often choose to play video games or engage with technology because technology makes sense. And to a researcher, that logical world is very calming compared to this world, which is so chaotic and mercurial and emotional, which is just too much to track. Yeah. So their escape is usually into gaming or movies or something that has a more logical structure. Yeah, but they really are here to show us what's true. In a world of, fake news and all this shenanigans, the researchers tend to be able to see what's real.
Wow, that really shines light on, my son, he's 19, and I've been having conversations with mothers, and they're like, these video games, right? Like, why are they there? What's going on there? And then I watch him developing himself through it. I'm like, what is he doing? And then when he comes out into the world, he's like, no, that doesn't resonate. That doesn't make sense.
What the heck is out here? There's no extra lives. My son is also a researcher. Yeah. My son is also a researcher. And it's funny. I was certain that Colin was a messenger. And this is what we do as parents. We tend to look for the similarities in our children, and sometimes that blinds us to their true individuality. So I recommend people have their kids take the soul gift quiz, because you learn a lot about your kid that maybe you've been blind to. I mean, it's embarrassing. Colin was he took the quiz and he's like, what type do you think I am? And I'm like, well, I think you're a messenger. He's like, Mom, I'm totally a researcher. And I was like, oh crap, this is my quiz. And I still didn't figure that out about my own kid. He's like, Mom, I'm always watching. I'm always making sense of things. Come on. I'm like, you're absolutely right. You're obviously a researcher, and I just have been blind to it. But similarly, if you'd asked me if I'd watched this interview, 25 years ago or whatever, when I was a lawyer, I would have assumed that I was a creator. That was the work I was doing. That's what my education taught me to be, to know things and to understand systems. And honestly, good thing, because now as a business strategist for intuitive people, I use that all day long. I use my analytical way of thinking along with my deep intuitive soul seeing to see what they really are, and then use my analytical mind and my marketing mind to build them the structures and the business plan that's perfect for them. So yay. But at the same time, these are times where once you know what your true soul gift is, lead with that. It's so much easier to make money. It's so much easier to be happy. And if you're a transmitter, you have to be a little more strategic with business because people need to have the excuse to pay you a lot of money for what you are 24/7. Do you see what I mean? Like it's a little tricksy.
Yeah.
And so that's
not be it. It's continuous. And
that's right. That's right. And it can't exhaust you because if it exhausts you and drains you, your transmission's off. Now you can't give your gift. So that's the fun challenge of working with transmitters is to find them a niche and a strategy and a business plan that allows them to give their gift without exhausting themselves to exactly the right people in a very aligned way with a very aligned, sales system, which usually involves a quiz. I'm totally into helping people build quizzes like mine because it's like you'll take the quiz, soul gift quiz, and you'll be like, oh, wow, this is marketing. Yay. Like this is already benefiting me. And there's no push. There's no pressure. It's just a gift. And that's what we need to have as transmitters and spiritual people because, the old pushy bro marketing stuff just makes us queasy. We have no interest in it.
Yeah, especially I know those that are here on the summit, they're like, because you can feel it,
Gross. The energy is desperate and pushy and smarmy, manipulative. Ugh. So the last thing we want to do is create that. And that unfortunately prevents a lot of our deepest channels and gifted intuitives from becoming known, from becoming successful with their deep gift, from making enough money to take care of their sensitive selves. Like that's what I find tragic is too many of our most gifted transmitters are out there working day jobs they hate, which tweaks we can't afford that. We really need all our transmitters like online and transmitting right now and having your own business that suits your soul. And, it's not for everyone. I'm not saying it's for everyone. Some people are just really not suited to have their own business. And I still sometimes coach those folks because then we try and find them a job where they can keep, it's still about being an expert and finding the words to describe the deep expertise that your transmission gift is giving you. This culture doesn't even have words for this stuff. So we have to create them and be kind of sneaky and strategic about it, so that people can receive what the transmitters and the sensitives and the spirit beings have to bring us right now.
Absolutely. And that's Divine Bridge for Humanity has been, how do we bridge in together? How do we honor every little aspect of creation to bring it all home again? And as you're speaking I love that you keep bringing up the root and looking at, working with the earth and the earth wisdom ceremonies that you do and being able to be in that listening, that continuous listening. Big piece right now is being anchored into the earth. And, as you're sharing these different soul gifts, I'm curious as I tune in and you were talking about it being rooted into the soul, if it is possible for someone to have all of those soul gifts. So a transmitter, for example, to be able to integrate and to bring all of those streams in, to be able to, for me, through the quiz I created, is developing those archetypes out. Developing them out into the new earth, developing them out into where we're bridging in coming from, right? Bridging to honoring where we're coming from. So that's been my work on this side. And as you're speaking it, I'm like,
I have a different system for what we develop in life. And because I'm finding that every human is very unique. And as we expand, we don't become like everybody else. As we expand, we actually sharpen our specialization because that's what works in this dimension. And we do expand all the different forms of genius that we channel. So I kind of have this model. My business is called Channel Your Genius. That's my website, Channel Your Genius. And it's a way for me to describe what I see as what we are and that we're all channels. It's not like some people are channels and other people aren't. No. We're all channeling. What are we channeling? Our genius. And I think that you can relate, like we all have these moments where something flows through us and it's like, effortless. You see even kids, like they'll say something so woo, like, something just channels through them, or you have an inspired moment in your body or your dance or your lovemaking and you're like, wow, what was that? It just, your best ideas come through you. And so that's why I talk about channeling your genius. And so it's a different way to appreciate spirit too, instead of like as frequencies or emanations, to also see like, this is our genius. And there's 4 different kinds of genius. So there's embodied genius, which is the ability to really feel and be in the body and to relate with nature and to be really here with Mama Gaia and with our bodies and to channel through the body. So that's embodied genius. That's one form. And of course, some people are just gifted with that. And some of us have to work on it and develop it. And then the second type is creative genius. That's the type of genius that is like the great idea how to solve a problem, solutions to problems. Creative. I got an idea, or how to create a beautiful work of art that creates beauty, that sort of thing. And I actually have a whole system that lays this out with like the 9 life initiations. So we tend to develop our embodied genius around birth, conception and birth. And early in childhood, we really come into the body as spirits. And then we come into our creative genius as children. If we're not knocked down too hard, that's when our imagination opens and I have these great ideas, I know, let's play pretend. And then the next one that comes in like in puberty and into young adulthood is integrative genius. And that's the ability to be in relationship with others and to be truly collaborative in creating with others. So integrating other forms of genius together and weaving them together. And these are relational skills. And this is what great leaders do. They can feel the room. And then visionary genius, which is the one that we usually think of as channeling. That's the one that's like, crossing the veil and talking to spirit and bringing through messages and energies from the cosmic realms. And so what my teacher, Maria Yesbru, who's indigenous, Tilshtayen, the way that she taught me is we have to there's a reason why we get our embodied genius first. We have to be grounded, like what you said earlier. We have to be grounded. We have to be fully in the body and in the world before we then get, now I have great ideas. And then, now like I can relate with all the other humans and beings around, all the other living beings, sentient beings. And then I can talk to spirit. And we've seen it, both you and I, I'm sure, have seen it, where someone rushes into visionary genius, but they forget to feed their cat. They're not tracking the foundational levels of genius. And so part of what I teach with Channel Your Genius is that, we're here to be full spectrum in our genius. It's not about just being spiritual. It's about really being a full span human who is channeling the full span of our genius. And for me, that's more like self-actualization or whatever is like all of it. And we all have to develop, we're gifted in some, and then we develop the others.
Wow. There's so much there. There's so much that you're sharing around genius. And I'm really hearing, this, how the intuition fuels your genius and how having this channel open is so important, and being aware of what you're moving through your channel and being conscious of, which direction you're taking yourself, making sure you're anchored well enough to be able to hold that. So I just want to ask you a last question here as we're kind of wrapping up, and I'm feeling so much in this space together. And I know people are receiving a lot from, the transmissions that are coming through your words as a messenger. So if there was one thing you would say to someone that is being called to make this shift, to honor their soul's calling, what would it be?
Be gentle with yourself and start at the beginning, start one step at a time, because making a shift can feel like a whole nother level of pressure in a pressurized world. The pressure to be perfect, the pressure to get it all right, the pressure to get it all done today. And really, it's okay to just start with the first step, just start. In my case, that's the soul gift quiz. Like, it's great to just like, what if you just learn your soul gift, and don't stress about everything else yet. Like just one step at a time. You're here on this summit. Listen to the speakers here. Listen, this is one step, just take the first steps and don't berate yourself, because especially if you're a transmitter, that level of self brutality is probably the biggest danger in our world.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I feel what you call transmitter, I'd call conduit. And I'm just taking in, just offering everyone this opportunity right now just to receive everything that was shared here. And really, I'm hearing what's really ringing through is the importance of this time to be bridging, to be coming forward. And I love your message, Mellissa, of the gentleness, to be gentle with yourself, Everything you need is always around you. It's right here within your reach. So taking the action, taking that next step, and being in the deep listening, anchored into Mother Earth. This is part of what we're strongly hearing from our time together, and would love to hear any last messages, Mellissa, from you.
If you feel like you're here on purpose, you are, and it's yours to just begin to acknowledge what it is. Yeah.
So much love and appreciation for you, Mellissa, for being here today, sharing your
Thank you for the invitation, Katrina. Appreciate you.
Deep love, and bye for now, everyone.
Oh, beautiful hearts, let's take a moment here to breathe into yet another powerful message from our Divinity in Action alchemical movement. I hope you found the teaching shared in this episode to be enlightening and empowering. Also, that you will take space for yourself to work with what was offered for your discovery and growth. Once again, I invite you to unlock your divinity through the wisdom of our speakers and to harness this beautiful energy to your benefit that will increase abundance, clarity, and freedom in every aspect of your life. By experiencing divinity in action, we will break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embody our true selves.